The Hillman Hunter. The Ford Cortina killer launched in 1966 to replace the Minx. The Hunter would be produced by various marques in the Roots Group and beyond, from 1966 to 1979 when production of the Chrysler Hunter ended. But 1979 would not be the end of the Hunter. Back in 1967, a year after its launch, a deal was struck that would make the Hunter rise again, to become a hero in an unlikely place, Iran. Going on to become their national car and one of the most successful ever produced, creating an industrial empire. This is the story of how the Hillman Hunter became the Iran National Paykan, which was produced until 2005, including the many unknown conversions, experiments and one-off models that were produced nearly 3,500 miles away in Tehran, and why it may soon rise again. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. If you're not subscribed already, please make sure to do so. It really does help me out and you get to see more of this, more history videos and more projects like 2600R, my Rover SD1. This video is about Hillman's adventure in Iran. And do you have any Hillman or Roots Group memories? Let me know in the comments below. And do you know of any other examples or any other cars you'd like me to cover? Let me know in the comments below. Drop a like on the video if you liked it. But without further delay, let's get into the video. Iran Khodro was formed in 1962 and was created by the determination of one man, self-made entrepreneur and industrialist Mahmoud Qayoumi. Mahmoud worked in the car industry in the mid-1950s in Tehran. His observant nature and vision meant he could see the potential of having a mass-produced car in Iran, and the impact such a car would have. Iran at the time was producing the Fiat 1100, but this wasn't going particularly well, with stoppages caused by poor quality and production issues. This led Mahmoud on his journey to establish his own car company, and in 1960 he approached Roots Group. But sadly, even though these talks were productive and positive, the money for the entrepreneur wasn't there. 2 years later, by 1962, things had changed, and the undeterred Mahmoud created Iran National in partnership with his brother Ahmad. Over the next few years, discussions with Roots would continue, and this time all the necessary resources were present, leading to, in 1966, Roots Group agreeing to sell the license for the Roots Arrow to the company so it could be assembled in Tehran on a brand new production line. Little did they know they would turn their dreams into an empire and the largest industrial complex in Iran. The new car would be called the Paykan. The car would be offered in standard trim, deluxe and GT. Production began in May of 1967 at a rate of 6,000 units per year. This though simply wasn't enough to satisfy the newly mobile Iranian public. In 1974, to explore a more upmarket clientele, Michelotti would be commissioned to build one of the rarest versions of the Roots Arrow cars. The result of this was a coupe with gull-wing doors and moulded bumpers. The car, built in the 70s, looked like it had come from the future. The location of this incredibly rare one-off Arrow car that almost draws parallels with the DeLorean is unknown. Reportedly at the time it was sold to a very wealthy businessman. In 1977, George Turnbull, one of the most successful British automotive executives, would be hired by Iran National, at expense of British Leyland, who lost out. George's work was astounding. In 1974, he worked with Hyundai to create the first car manufactured and developed solely by the company. The mission presented to George by Iran National was simple: make Iran National unreliant on the currently in trouble Roots Group, now Chrysler Europe, to help establish a fully autonomous car industry in Iran. Meanwhile, a seemingly unremarkable car would go on to be a huge success, and by 1979 production was raised to 100,000 units. With 44% of the parts being produced in Iran. The Hillman Hunter, now the Paykan, became a symbol of Iran's industrial capacity, social and economic change. The Paykan facelift was also being evaluated after Roy Axe had restyled the car, with several prototypes being sent to Iran. The Avenger would also make an appearance in Iran, with kits being sent in the form of the 2-door Avenger to the Iranian factory, with some 4-door Avengers being available on order for customers from the UK. But then, something happened. That thankfully wasn't anything to do with British Leyland, the Iranian Revolution in January 1979. This would lead to the company's ownership being transferred to the government from the Qayoumi brothers. After the turmoil of the revolution, the Paykan emerged again, but with Chrysler Europe on the brink, there was a problem. The parts they were so reliant on from the UK were scarce, especially since the Hunter had been discontinued that year. But George Turnbull, before he left the operation, had thankfully brokered a deal to use the 1600cc unit from the Chrysler Avenger, and with George now working at Talbot, a deal was struck. Iran National, now known as Iran Khodro, entered a 10-year deal with Peugeot Talbot to secure a significant amount of 1725cc engines from their stockpile to use while production lines were changed to accommodate the new 1.6-litre engine in Iran. The pre-revolution facelift was also introduced, with a redesigned front and rear, as well as new dashboard updating the Paykan from its original 1967 design. The model range would also be expanded, with a pickup and a van added as commercial models. Production would continue during the 80s until 1991, when the tooling and machinery purchased from Talbot was installed, making the Paykan a fully Iranian-built car. In 1997, the car was facelifted again, looking a bit like a Morris Ital. Iran Khodro, who made the Paykan, became the largest car manufacturer in Iran, and the Paykan, formerly known as the Hillman Hunter, became an icon, known as the car that got Iran moving. In 2005, though, it was all over. After 38 years of production, the Paykan was discontinued. But it wasn't quite over yet, with the pickup version of the Paykan continuing production for another 10 years. This would be discontinued in 2015. But the story isn't over yet. The Paykan running gear would live on, powering the localised version of the 405, which would be produced until 2016. The story of the Hillman Hunter hasn't quite reached its conclusion. You may be thinking, after all those years of production all over the world, this car's life would be over, but you are wrong. The mighty Hunter is set to rise again. The British car that got Iran moving has reportedly been purchased by Sudan to help spearhead their domestic car production, once again proving that the route's arrow is as sharp as ever. In Iran, the Paykan was succeeded by the locally produced Samand. This car is commonly referred to as the new Paykan. To me, this is just an incredible story. The fact that the Peugeot RD or ROA gets, so the 405 tours, gets such an incredible reputation, but the underpinnings are of a Hillman Hunter is just incredible. Now, the Paykan did have a few engine changes. It did use a Peugeot 504 unit for a few years instead of the 1725cc Roots engine, while they were just waiting for the supply to get back up. But it's just an incredible story. They had a pickup, they had a van, they had the saloon, they had the estate. They just had some incredible cars, and these cars still are all over Iran today and all over the Middle East. The Hillman Hunter really has just taken over, and this car is, of course, in the minds of Iranians, from what I've read, is just a really fond memory and quite the institution over there, which is incredible to me that the Hillman Hunter, 3,500 miles away, became an icon. And I just think it's fascinating. It's certainly quite a lot different to the story of the SD1 or the standard 2000 in India, and I've also made a video on that. If you want to watch that, I'll put a annotation on the screen and a link in the description below. But without further delay, and without boring you even more with more car talk, thank you for watching, keep watching, and remember to subscribe for more of this, and I'll see you in the next one.